Here from GreenGrowth CPAs. Just going to give everybody a couple minutes to go ahead and get set up here. But thank you all for joining us. Let us know where you're calling in from. Make sure you put some info in the chat. Let us know what vertical you're in, or if you're an ancillary service provider. And then lastly, be sure to let us know that anything that you're looking forward to learning about today, regarding, banking products and services, technology, legal. Really questions help us guide the content of the presentation. And so please be sure to drop any questions into the chat platform of your choice, and I'll make sure that we address them during the presentation. So we're just going to give everybody a couple minutes to finish getting logged on here. We have quite a few people logging on, and then we're going to go ahead and get started here in the next minute. Wonderful. All right. Perfect. All righty. So let's go ahead and get started here. All right. All righty, perfect. So just a quick disclaimer before we get started. I just have to let you know the information contained in this presentation is meant for guidance purposes only and is not as professional, legal, or tax advice. And further, it does not give personalized legal, tax, investment, or any business advice in general. So first, I'd like to start by thanking all of you for joining us today for our Mississippi Cannabis Roundtable. We are just absolutely thrilled to have you all here to learn about the Mississippi cannabis market, and are so glad that you tuned in to hear from our panelists. Today, we're joined by many experienced panelists from a variety of disciplines specializing in the cannabis industry. You can find the links to their websites and contact information in the description of this video, so make sure that you check them out below. Panelists, thank you for joining us today. We're so honored to have each of you here, and very much appreciate you taking the time out of your day to share your experience, advice, and expertise at our roundtable today. So today we're going to be covering a series of group discussions. We're going to be spending time speaking with attorneys on the roundtable and discuss what operators need to know as they're getting started. We'll also be spending a portion of the time discussing how to best collect and manage your data and technology. And then we'll transition into a conversation about insurance and banking products and services before we ultimately wrap up with a Q&A session. So if you have any questions, get them into the chat now, and we'll either answer them along the way or at the end during the Q&A session. Now, before we get started with the discussions, I want to go ahead and read you a little bit of information about each of our presenters. So our first panelist is Whit Steineker from Bradley Law Firm. As co-chair of Bradley's cannabis industry team, Whit represents clients in a wide range of cannabis issues, in addition to providing a full suite of legal services to cannabis companies. Whit and the cannabis industry team advise non-cannabis clients, from banks to commercial real estate companies to insurance companies and high net worth individuals, on best practices for interacting with cannabis companies. Whit is one of the leading voices in the cannabis bar, recognized as a go-to thought leader by the National Law Review. He has presented on cannabis issues at conferences around the world. He has worked and been featured in the National Law Journal, Law 360, and the Westlaw Journal. And he has been quoted in an array of legal and mainstream publications, from Law 360 and Super Lawyers to the Atlantic Journal, Constitution, and the Associated Press. Welcome, Whit. Yes, thank you for being here. Our second panelist is Slates Veazey from the Bradley Law Firm. Slates is a member of Bradley's cannabis industry team, advising clients on a variety of cannabis issues in a wide range of sectors, from individuals and entities interested in participating in the new Mississippi medical cannabis program to non-plant touching companies impacted by the emerging market. Slates and his partners provide the full suite of services that Bradley offers to its many other clients, but with a specific understanding of the ever-changing cannabis industry. His work has been featured in the National Law Journal, JD Supra, and the Cannabis Business Executive. Slates also has been quoted by the Mississippi Business Journal and Mississippi Today regarding Mississippi's medical cannabis program. Welcome, Slates.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. Our third panelist is Adam Hutchinson from CannaSpyGlass. Prior to co-founding CannaSpyGlass. Hutchinson was president of Stonebridge Consulting, leading their business transformation, including multiple company spinoffs in the energy industry. Prior, he held positions in engineering and technology at Petrohawk Energy and Chesapeake Energy, respectively. Hutchinson started his career with global consulting giant Accenture, where he served clientele in their resources market unit after earning a degree in chemical engineering from the University of Oklahoma. Adam enjoys time with his wife, 2 sons, daughter, and pets at the lake anytime he gets a chance. Welcome, Adam. Our next panelist today is Justin Shannon. Oh, thank you, Adam. Our next panelist today is Justin Shannon from Hub International. Justin is a property and casualty insurance broker with Hub International. He is a part of Hub's national leading cannabis insurance brokerage group. Hub is the largest cannabis broker in North America with over 600 plus clients in the cannabis industry. And Justin is at the forefront of the cannabis industry in the Southeast today. Our next panelist is Adam Benko from MJ Stack. MJ Stack is the only free consulting agency that helps operators discover their own ideal technology stack. As co-founder and head of partnerships at MJ Stack, Adam combines his professional background in enterprise technology sales at the Fortune 500 level, agile software development, and cannabis POS to help his clients drive revenue, increase efficiency, and enable growth. Hello, Adam, and hi, Justin. Thank you both for being here today.
Very happy to be here.
Our next panelist is a returning panelist, Ms. Mel Barnes from Westtown Bank and Trust. Nice to see you again, Mel. Mel has enjoyed 26 plus years in community banking. Her experience includes management, corporate training, sales, business development, treasury management, marketing, deposit operations, customer support, and cannabis banking. Thank you for being here today, Mel.
Thank you.
And our final panelist is GreenGrowth's very own Southwest Territory Sales Manager, Lawrence Cagigal. Lawrence opened GreenGrowth CPAs Oklahoma office in September of 2018 and has been instrumental in anchoring GreenGrowth's eastward expansion from its California roots. His relationships and involvement in leadership positions within the cannabis industry have helped clients not only survive, but thrive in an ultra-competitive environment. We are thrilled to have Lawrence join the fight for the cannabis licenses in Mississippi. Additionally, Mississippi represents GreenGrowth CPA's 20th state in their expansion project, and Lawrence's 4th state he has spearheaded from idea to licensing to production and beyond. Thank you all for being here today. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic over to Lawrence, who will be moderating today's roundtable event.
Well, thank you, Danny. And I want to say thank you to all the panelists for taking time out of your busy day to join us. And would also like to say thank you for all the people that have registered and have attended and are joining us here today. So thank you, everyone. We're looking forward to this one. To begin, we're going to start with the attorneys. So between 2 attorneys, I am here with Slates and Whitt, and we'll kind of jump in with some specific questions for you guys. So I'm going to pick on you first, Whitt. Alabama, Mississippi is similar to Oklahoma in many regards, a southern red state. Talk to me how it was with you being the cannabis or weed attorney. Now, how did that go over, and tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I'll say first, I don't know that I had originally considered Oklahoma a part of the South, but I guess we're going to be playing you guys in football every year now. I guess you're welcome to the South, or we're happy to be wherever you are. But it's certainly been a pleasure to get to know you through that process. This all happened faster than we anticipated. But and Slates has heard me say this, and we've talked about it, starting a cannabis practice group in a Southeastern-based law firm is a little bit like Noah telling people that it's about to start raining. And we had some weird conversations with people around the office, and we had to think long and hard about how we wanted to promote it internally before we even began to think about promoting it externally. And those conversations extended to friends and family. many of whom think, I'm crazy, or they're just happy to see that every now and then we get to write a blog and they think I'm, semi-famous, or they give me some sort of nervous laughter. But in a lot of ways, it's the reactions, though, quickly begin to mirror what we all have seen in the industry, which is this sense of acceptance as the idea begins to sit with people longer, and as the anecdotal experiences begin to percolate in any given community. So thankfully, we were able to, we got up and running a little bit of momentum, and people in the practice group started to see that there were opportunities for us within the firm. We're always thoughtful and careful about the types of clients we take on. So ultimately, this is something that's worked out for us.
That's wonderful to hear. And that's, I've had the same thing. I think I put together a bigger presentation for my parents than I did for some of our larger groups, it's going from a state that's very conservative to the last thing I ever thought was going to be in a cannabis in a situation. So that's, it's kind of fun to hear that. Slate, did you want to jump in on that one?
Yeah. I mean, what Whit said was exactly part of my experience, but more towards the family. I'll get a text from my mother who said, "Oh, so-and-so just forwarded me a copy of this article where you're quoted." And then I ran into somebody down the street at the grocery store, and they said they saw you featured in, the Mississippi Business Journal talking about marijuana law. And I'm like, "So are you okay with that?" She's like, "Yes, I want you to be happy. I want you to have a good career." And, thankfully things are going that direction. So it has been interesting, but like Whit said, I think the acceptance, I mean, if anything, it was proven by the voting majority that approved the original initiative that it ended up not going through, but it shows the support here in Mississippi. But even the pushback that may have originally been present, I think as people become more educated about the program, they realize that it is something positive and can be used in a positive manner for not just the marijuana industry, but for the entire economy and the people of Mississippi.
Yeah, once they see that the sky doesn't fall and that people can make money and do it in a practical way that they like it, the things will change. Coming to the next question, tell us about your first cannabis client.
I'll take that one. So a little bit of maybe it was fortuitous, but so right after we sort of very nervously put out our first written piece about banking and financial services in the cannabis industry, we got a call from a Canadian company in the financial services industry. Canada had just gone federally legal, and so it turns out that, sort of unbeknownst to us and through some good fortune, we basically started when Canada went federally legal, and then right before the 2018 Farm Bill. And so it was a good example of how, to us at least, of how, getting content out there that's thought-provoking and thought leadership, and written in a way that, people want to read, can lead to good results, because that call came in, within a few days of the piece going up. It also was sort of a testament to sometimes just, luck, and is where I guess preparation meets opportunity. And so there's three words should go in the different order. But for us, it happened to be sort of good fortune, because we took that experience. Hemp really opened up in the Southeast. We were able to sort of get our legs under us, both internally within the firm, explaining what we do, but also, almost our training wheels to some extent, to once the medical market came to the Southeast, we were really ready to run with it. So our first client was a large Canadian transfer agent, and I had to Google what transfer agent was when they called.
I like it. Very cool. That's always fun. I'm going to pick on Slates now. We always hear sometimes people try to go it alone. They want to start a business. Schedule one. What advice would you give for someone that's looking to start a cannabis operation in Mississippi?
Good gosh, where do I start there? This touches on so many different things. I think you got to be informed and educated, number one, because there's so much to this, whether it's the law itself, the regulations, and the business commitment, financial commitment. It's just educate yourself, meet the right people, it goes. I mean, I could talk forever, but I think that sets the stage for at least understand what you may be undertaking or you're interested in undertaking, and then decide if it's something you're willing to commit to, because this isn't a hobby. If someone wants to open a medical cannabis business in Mississippi, it needs to be a full-time, serious commitment.
Very good, and that'll save a lot of people a lot of headaches moving forward. Along those lines, what do you see that could happen that would change immediately, or any recourse to a bad decision, anything along those lines that the program itself could do that would be impactful or that you guys could help with?
Well, I'll say right now, every day we're seeing new things develop inside the program, whether it was the Mississippi Department of Health not releasing its final cultivation regulations until the week before applications would be submitted, to additional information coming out about background checks the day before, the applications would be submitted. And now we're seeing how different responses are coming out to the applications and how the department's responding if there may be missing information. So it's just a moving target, a roller coaster, and we're just along for the ride, but we're monitoring it very closely. And another thing to note is, under the program, local cities or counties had the option to opt out of certain components of the cannabis program. That deadline has passed. However, I expect some of the places that opted out to opt back in. So I think it will only grow inside Mississippi, the locations where these businesses operate.
100%. As they start to see the money coming in, I definitely think they will take a different approach. And you brought up a great point of the regs not coming out until right before, and some of the changes happening. It kind of speaks more to the point of having someone local that knows how to manage those boots on the ground, that knows how to do those, and just not necessarily being able to. You want someone that knows those people, not take an adversarial approach with them, but someone that can help. You need to be effective with your clients to help get them across that finish line with the local city and state people. So we've seen that in other states, and that is integral to being able to pivot and being able to understand the laws and the changes. And if you have the perfect spot to go, if it's not zoned properly, you're kind of stuck. So definitely like that.
And unlike other southern states, I mean, people know about your business in Mississippi, and we meet people, we know people from the grocery store, but the county supervisors. I mean, you make connections, whether it was going to college here or just growing up here. So that local flavor definitely goes a long way.
Definitely. It's kind of hard to quantify those when you're looking at a spreadsheet amongst whatever vendors you're looking at, but that is definite that we've seen over and over again in different states. Before we move on from the attorneys, any piece of advice you guys would be giving to someone, Whit or Slates, on starting the cannabis business, or just anything you've learned so far that'll be a big help for some of the people that just haven't gone through that quite yet?
Slates, I'll go. I mean, I guess to echo your first point, you got to take this seriously. I don't know why people think that, if we were talking about microchip processors, people wouldn't think that they could just wing it and do it on their own, even if they don't have any experience doing it. But somehow you say it's marijuana, and they're like, I don't know, I've smoked a little pot before. Let me get a fully vertically integrated operation up and running it. And that's just not the case, right? I mean, to some extent, it's just like any other business with all of its challenges and opportunities, and although one that's particularly regulated. So, when you think about it, a lot of people try to go it alone, which, Lawrence, I think that was one of your first points. And I mean, you could amputate your leg alone if you wanted to. I guess it's possible. But, typically, I think most people wouldn't think it's a very good idea. And, one thing we found is that a lot of the things that we can do are in the mold of an ounce of prevention being worth a pound of cure. And so there's a lot of things that we can do that it might sound like it's going to be expensive or time consuming or painful. A lot of times we can actually make things a lot easier. And a lot of times, if everybody's just upfront with each other about what they need and when they need it, we can make sure that overall your legal spend ends up being a lot less than if you try to do it by yourself, you don't do it the right way, and then you're trying to fix a problem.
Agreed, 100%. That will be a reoccurring theme moving forward for you fellas. Well, I appreciate it. Before we move on, Danny, do you have any other questions that came through or anything?
Nope, I don't see any new questions right now that we need to go ahead and hit, but we'll go ahead and bring in the next panelist, Lawrence.
All righty. Now I was between two attorneys. Now I'm going to be between two Adams.
Yes,
So
that's correct. Two Adams.
Adam Benko and Adam Hutchinson. We had a lot of questions from the viewers regarding your guys' stuff. I'm going to start with Adam Benko. So your rise from taking the Oneaters out of Erie, Pennsylvania, now to Colorado with MJ Stack. Tell us how that ride went.
Yeah, absolutely. Always love a good reference to my hometown of Erie, Pennsylvania, an obscure movie reference. Thank you there, Lawrence. So I come from a background in technology. Me and my co-founder, Brian, who's not on this call, but many of you may get a chance to meet him in a follow-up here. We started MJ Stack after working at one of the largest cannabis software providers because we realized it's really hard for anyone opening a cannabis business who just wants to grow weed and sell the plant to understand, based on the business model they have, the state they're in, the regulations they have to abide by, the type of business they're trying to open, what the best solution is for them. There are a lot of good solutions out there. And the only way most people get information is from a sales rep who is motivated to sell you the solution that they are selling. So that's not really an agnostic person advocating for your best interest. So we started MJ Stack to be that person to advocate to make sure that operators are getting paired with the best solutions based on their unique goals and not what a paid listing or a sales executive who doesn't own their business is trying to tell them what to do. So in the end, just creating advocacy.
I like it. I think a lot of people will try to recreate the wheel where they could just call you. That's as simple as I can put it because I've seen this movie before. And we always get questions about, should I be looking at cannabis-specific technology? If I'm going alone, can I just use any software? What would you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, we are all naturally prideful people. We want to solve problems on our own before admitting that we need help. Unfortunately, what Whit just said, I mean, kind of takes a village, and I mean, there's a very complicated industry, and you should reach out to experts to get that information. So in cannabis, what makes it unique is we are in a federally illegal industry. I know that's not very groundbreaking to anyone on this call, but with that, we create fractionalized pockets of industry, whether it be state by state regulations, different track and trace by state, and that dictates different solutions because we live in such a fractionalized industry. Not to mention, we still have to circumvent certain laws for marketing solutions, for advertising solutions. So it makes it fun. And even if you have experience operating in a different market, Mississippi is not going to be regulated the same way that an Oklahoma or a California was. So the need for the nuance to understand what the best tools are based on that fractionalized marketplace looks like creates that need.
Just for all the people that are going through this now, everything is going to take longer. Everything's more difficult. Everything is just a hassle. So it's better to have, you need to have relationships. You need to have people to bounce ideas off of to help put you just in the right path. I always tell people, I'll give you a couple of people to choose from. It's your business. You choose, just, find the good ones. And then one more. Is there anything that they should get right away or anything they should hold off on from a technology standpoint?
So I always like to emphasize whenever you set up a consultation with us, which our service is free, by the way, for anyone wondering how much this would cost them, is to understand, everything does take longer, just what Lauren said, and there's an order of operations to everything. You probably should have your license approved before you start evaluating what technology you're going to buy. And certain technologies, such as your e-commerce provider, depends on you having a website before you can start advertising your products. And then before you list products, you need to have them in your inventory management solution or your point of sale. So without boiling the ocean with an explanation there is absolutely an order of operations to understand what you should sign up for and when, and understanding we're in a constantly changing industry. Market consolidation happens. Companies acquire other companies constantly. Layoffs tend to happen as well. I don't expect a business owner who's trying to run a successful business to stay on top of that, but that's what we do at MJ Stack to make sure that you don't have to be out there evaluating all these things independently, and to know you're not signing a contract before it makes sense. So absolutely, there's a correct order of operations, and you should focus more so on the services. And a lot of the good people on this call, way before you invest any money in signing up for any technology, for the most part.
I like it. That was excellent. Thank you, sir. And you said the words that I like, that everyone likes to hear, that you take care of it all and that you're free.
That's a great summary. Yes.
Yeah. And now I'm going to move on to Adam Hutchinson. How are you today, sir?
Great, Lawrence. Great to be here. Appreciate everybody dialing in and appreciate the introductions.
I'll let you kind of chat a lot about what you do, but you guys focus on data. We love analytics. I know you guys love analytics. What do you see any unique aspects about the Mississippi program compared to other states, or anything that data likes?
Yeah, great question. I think first as a basis here in Oklahoma, 12,000 licenses within the cannabis industry. Arkansas only 50, Missouri 400. So through our time in cannabis, you see different aspects of how the legislation, how the communities adopt, how marketing technology takes hold in these different phases, if you will, as cannabis comes in and starts in a state and then further evolves. Mississippi, very unique. We engaged with a multi-state operator about a year ago, examining Mississippi. And one very unique aspect in Mississippi is a pure amount of population surrounding the state that is that is outside of Mississippi, that does not have a marijuana or medicinal program within the state. So the big aha moment there for them was you expand the state of Mississippi's borders by 10 miles, and the population or the market share or potential customers goes up 30%. So as they were examining, where do we want to place dispensaries? Where do we want to place our grows? How do we want to look at logistics to optimize the cost side of our P&L? These were all considerations. And so clearly they're a multi-state operator. They've done some things before. They've learned the hard way. Now they look a little bit more at data and setting out a plan. But I think still, if you're a smaller shop going in for the first time, looking at the information around you, where our other dispensary, what's our marketing plan, what's the population, what's some of the traffic flow, what are major events during the year. There's a lot of information that can help you then craft your business. And as everybody knows, you can't do everything at once, but I'm always a big advocate of the saying, think big and start small. And we think the data and analytics is a key part to allow business owners to do that.
So it increases by 30% if you extend it by 10 miles.
That's right. That's
pretty cool.
There will be a lot of out-of-state demand for the offerings and the products in Mississippi for sure.
That makes sense, and the numbers show you where you should be, I guess is a good way to put that. Kind of continuing on the trends line, what do you see a couple years down the road for Mississippi and kind of the analytics side?
Great question. I think it's probably not just some creative genius, but what we've all seen, not only in the cannabis industry, but other industries. I mean, there's certainly going to be a big wave here out of the gate, even with a very intentional format by the state of Mississippi and offering licenses and working through that process. But there'll be an explosion of businesses. There'll be a consolidation period probably at some point, and then sustained growth for the emerging companies that are able to differentiate themselves. And I think all that you'll find your way in that journey. But I think to optimize and maximize the folks on the call, your chances for success. And I'm not just saying it because I'm on the panel. I think you talk to Adam, you talk to Mel, you talk to Whit, you get the legal, you get the accounting set up, you get your taxes done right. Because even if you get to a point that you're break even after a couple of years, your business can be very attractive to somebody else that maybe now is moving in with investment grade money, and having that history of the accounting, right? And being able to show them your business in a very detailed way will be very important. Or maybe you'll be on the other side, you'll be on the buy side. And you'll need that information then to go get loans from the bank or money from investors so that you can lean in to growing your business through a roll-up strategy.
I like it. again, we love analytics. We love the data, and you got to have data. You got to have technology. So thank you both. We very much appreciate you guys being on this, and then we'll definitely have some more questions for you coming up.
Perfect.
And
Thanks, Lawrence.
Thank you. And before we move on to the next group, any questions we need to go through, Danny?
We do. We have a few questions that came in. It says, well, Luke wants to say hi. He has a meeting with one of the Adams. So hi from Luke.
That would be this Adam. Looking forward to it.
Adam. Awesome. Awesome. He had a question about getting if you could get a worker's permit and only volunteer for no pay. Is that an attorney question?
Yeah, I'll give a stab at that. I don't know if the work permit regs specifically address volunteering, but I would say a work permit would be required if you were volunteering. I think if you're providing services for an operator or cultivator, helping work at the facility, you're required to get a work permit and meet the criteria to do so. But
awesome.
I would think if you want to get a work permit and work for free, I don't know why the state would care about that, as long as you do what you're supposed to do to actually provide work services at the facility.
Great. Thank you for that, Slates. Couple more real quick, Lawrence, before we move on. Thomas had a question. He said, based on Cultivation Rule 5.6.5, do any of you see the state removing tiers or quit issuing licenses of cultivation based upon demand?
Well, I don't have that rule in front of me. I suppose the state, I'll say a couple of things. I know that they have the law sets out that there will be an annual report provided at the end of each year to various government officials about the program. There's also going to be an advisory committee that oversees the program in the state of Mississippi. So certainly anything is conceivable based on what's presented to them, what information is presented, how the program operates during the year, and they would be the people that would have the power to make changes. But certainly in the short term, I think they set up this tiered structure for a reason and are letting all the different sizes go forward and operate initially, for sure.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Well, we do have a couple other questions, but we'll save those for the next break. So, Lawrence, we'll go ahead and bring in our next presenters here. So just want to thank Adam and Adam so much for being here, and we'll see you guys at the end for the Q&A session. All righty. So we have Mel that we're going to bring in here and Justin. Awesome. All right, Lawrence, I'm going to go ahead and let you take it away.
All righty. Hi, Mel. Hi, Justin. In a previous life, I understood who Hub was and appreciated them, their size and their scale. I'll let you I won't steal your thunder. I want you to jump in, but you have a great combination of boots on the ground with someone just is kind of like GreenGrowth. We have someone local, and then we've had history in other states doing this. So I'll kind of let you jump in and tell us about Hub and the local market and the big picture.
Yeah, so it is actually the cannabis brokerage in North America. I this out to about 6 months when all this was, and I started looking to it and realized that I dove into. We have over that are part of the cannabis group, which I'm a part of. We broker $8 in cannabis premium, over 600 clients. Kind of what makes us different than a dedicated services group deals with cannabis loans, and you want us to work with you services people to walk through. Hey, you need to check this out. We can help in that way. The biggest part is account managers. The account managers actually in Denver, Colorado. I have 15 account managers only deal with these cannabis, and they've built relationships, and they're on a first name basis. So I work with, been doing it for a long time, works with from these different companies, so they can get things done so other people can't, just because of the relationships that they have with them.
Hey, Justin, I think I caught the gist of that. We were having a real hard time. I think you mentioned you guys have some account people in Denver that have the cool relationships, and that's always important. And obviously, everyone in Mississippi knows you, so there's the trust factor in there, and that you will be their liaison, and that you will be their you will fight.
We can have a face and be there if you need me, but that I can lean on in doing this, and that's so we've got the best.
I like it. We're still having a hard time, but I want to just have you kind of go through some things about. We talk a lot about risk management from our side on the CPA side of you don't want to have, you don't leave yourself liable for the state or an IRS auditor. You want your books to be clean for someone tries to buy you or you buy someone else. Do you want to talk a little about some of the basic risk management provisions so someone doesn't go bankrupt, and then we'll lead into Mel about how they can build up their wealth?
Well, it's risk management. If I have a problem before, then I'm helping my. Oh, hear me?
No.
No.
I think people just need to call you.
Well,
People just need to give you a
Go
call.
to- oh, let me get my earbud and get it fixed.
All righty. Well, we'll while you're doing that, we will encourage everyone to check you out and check out Hub. And it's an easy ask for us to say that. In the meantime, we're going to pick on Mel Barnes with Westtown Bank. Hi, Mel.
Hi, Lawrence.
So one of the number one question, first question I asked is a good attorney. The second question I get asked is, why is it so difficult to get a bank to accept my money?
Are you asking me why it's so difficult? Would you
Yeah.
like me to tell you that?
You're responsible for all bankers, so yeah.
Okay, fantastic. I think the first thing that everybody needs to understand is that we are joining two very heavily regulated industries here, banking and cannabis. And so when we take a look at what is required to accept cannabis deposits, there is an extensive compliance protocol. And so I tell people all the time, the reason that every bank is not doing this is because it's hard. And what I mean by that, it's hard for the banker. We do have to set up a program that has all of the compliance in place. We have to understand the compliance, not only our banking compliance and all of those federal regulations that we all know and love, but Westtown is providing services really across the country. And so that makes it a little more complicated, because then we need to be able to understand the laws in Mississippi. We need to understand the laws in Oklahoma, Colorado, California, anywhere we're banking. And quite honestly, there are a lot of banks who just do not have the time, the staff, or the resources to be dedicated to the compliance that this requires.
That makes sense. And I think the more that people get into the industry, they'll realize that, again, like I mentioned, everything's more difficult, everything's harder. We all want banking. There's no point having 6 figures in cash in a dispensary. It's not safe. I've had this discussion over and over. Let's talk about the pros of you guys. FDIC insured is there. The locations aspect is one of our best attributes for you guys. So I'll let you kind of jump in on those.
Okay. Well, we get asked that all the time. Where are your locations? We don't have any cannabis locations. Westtown Bank is an Illinois chartered bank. We're an Illinois chartered state bank, and we do have one location in the Chicago area. However, that is not really related to our cannabis program. And so one of the biggest tricks with cannabis and banking is the cash. Everybody knows there's too much cash in the system, and that's kind of what Lawrence is talking about. It is not safe for our communities. It's not safe for your operation or your employees. your family. We don't like to see people sticking $100,000 in a backpack and going to pay their taxes, or, you know, going on your shopping trip, because guess what? You guys also have utilities to pay, service providers to pay, and what have you. And so Westtown partners with cash couriers. And so what that looks like from the business's point of view is the bank is going to come directly to you to pick up your deposit. And so through our cash courier contracts, we can work with clients really across the country if they are cash heavy. Cash is our biggest challenge, but that's how we overcome that, is with a cash courier.
It's a big help for us. Transparency is key, and banking unlocks everything for our firm. We give SOPs on how to pass a cash intense audit, and then we do everything we can to get people off cash. So the IRS, they don't like cash intense businesses. They really don't like federally illegal cash intense businesses. So the more that you can prove your payroll, the more you can prove your income, that's they get less antsy on that one. So it's been a big help for us. Here's your commercial. It's been a big help for GreenGrowth in the fact that you aren't burdened by a physical location, that you guys are a bank, you can drop off the money at a reserve. So it gives our clients a tremendous amount of help to immediately get them off of cash only, which, you know, if you're opening up 5 dispensaries, the last thing you want to do is count cash every night. You should be merchant service, have all the other stuff, so that's taken care of. But I'm kind of getting too far ahead. Tell them what we always get questions on the timing turnaround. Walk the clients through the expectations they should see for you guys, and then kind of what your times are faster than everyone's. Kind of walk through some of those from a customer experience.
Okay, certainly. So the first thing we like to do is sit down and have a conversation with a prospect. We really like to understand your business. We like to understand your vertical and understand how you're operating or how you plan to operate. And then we can suggest the correct tier to put you in, the correct services that would be beneficial to you. And so we do have a consultation up front. Then the application and onboarding process is all done online. We do have a compliance partner that works with us to vet these prospects. We're going to ask you for things like your licenses, your entity docs. We're going to ask you about beneficial ownership, all of these things that pertain to the know your customer rules that we have to comply with. And so there is an onboarding process where we gather all this. Again, we do it online. And once you've submitted that to us, you can expect 3 to 5 business days is about all it takes for us to vet through all of this information. And we have a team. We have a team of 7, and we are all certified cannabis bankers. And so you're going to have people who understand the business looking at your application. Then we're going to hook you up with our commercial account services team, who are going to get that account open for you. They're going to talk to you about your online banking, what other services you need, and set that account up just like you want it to. So, you know, it is possible, if you have all of your documents together, that in just over a week, you could have a cannabis operating account.
So I'm a licensee in Mississippi. I get treasury services. I can pay my bills online with you guys.
Absolutely.
And I want everyone to know the turnaround time of 1 week is fantastic. When I started in 2018, you paid a company about $2,500, and in a short 90-day turnaround, you got a yes or a no. And it's come down to about 30 days, and the price has gone much lower. But I hope people appreciate the fact of a turnaround time of, if I get all my documents in, that it's not a month. It's measured in days and not weeks and months, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. And the customer experience is huge, because we know how many times you've been told no. And so what we want to do is tell you yes, and we want to get you onboarded quickly.
Very cool. Do we have Justin back yet by chance? If not, we can take a question from Mel.
Yeah, I saw a couple.
We had a
Hey,
question.
Lawrence.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
Lawrence, we have a couple questions for Mel, and then I'll go ahead and bring Justin back right now. So our questions for Mel are some banking-specific questions. So somebody asked, Michael McKinney asked, is it true that credit unions will accept cannabis accounts? I've heard this one before too, Mel. Do you want to go ahead and answer that?
Sure, some of them will, yes, and some of them won't. So I would say overall there are more credit unions in this space than banks. However, credit unions typically have a geographical restriction, and that varies depending upon the nature of that credit union. I think one place that we really have an ace in the hole is that the only geographical restrictions we have is if we do not have cash established in your region for pickup. But we are adding new areas all the time, and Mississippi is front and center.
And then
Thank you, Mel. One more question real quick, Lawrence. Angelita wanted to ask you, Mel, do your couriers run into issues taking cash out of one state and depositing in another state?
Well, that is an interesting question. Most of our couriers operate in multiple states. And so there are times when their vault facilities, maybe don't have a vault facility in every single state, and they are transporting that. It could be that you have read something in the press. There's been some stories about some cash couriers that really, for lack of a better term, have been hijacked by, the authorities. All of those have been resolved. I can't really speak to that, but it has never been a problem that has plagued Westtown or our relationships with those customers.
All righty, Mel. Well, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and bring everyone back now, Lawrence, so that we can finish up the Q&A session here at the end, okay? So let me just bring everyone back on screen here, and then we'll go ahead and get back to the Q&A session. So a couple more questions that came through. Let's see. Could someone, Lawrence, I think you're going to take this one. Could someone from GreenGrowth explain in a little more detail the costs and et cetera for outsourcing CFO duties?
Gotcha. We have an onboarding fee that we can go through, and then that helps you and our team work together. And the number one trigger for a monthly fee is time spent. We don't do contracts. We don't base your monthly fee off a percentage of sales. We're not a partner. We don't deserve that. And that's just what people ask for, and I think it's crazy. It's for time spent working on your account. So the more that my team is comfortable that your team can do your job, we will teach your team and empower your team over the course of meetings on how to interact with our CFO team. Those are the biggest triggers for that. And we're comfortable with that relationship changing over time. In fact, we want you to grow. Sometimes it's us as a CFO, then sometimes it's helping you find a CFO. We'll help vet them, and then we're just consulting. So it's a kind of an open-ended question, but it's one price to get in the door for whether you're big or small, and then the monthly price is kind of just depending on what we do for you. But we're happy to walk you through that one. I always tell people, interview different versions of us, make sure that it's a good fit, and that it's someone that's taking. We don't do contracts. You control the books, so we don't hold you over a shotgun that where you can't leave us. If they're providing you the QuickBooks, as soon as they work on it, it becomes their data, not your data. We put everything in your pile, so we have to keep you happy as a client.
Thank you so much, Lawrence. And then just one more question. I think this one Adam's going to take. Adam, do we need to have a business set up with all the investments before applying for a license, or can someone apply for a license before making like a huge investment?
Yeah, and this is a great question, and it kind of goes back to one of the ones that Lawrence asked me about how there's an order of operations for everything. I would highly encourage you to speak with some sort of financial planner or advisor to understand the costs of the business before even making the jump of applying for the license. And then once you go further down that road and you get a good sound business plan and understand your money in, money out, what your revenue should look like based on your geographic location, all these things that Adam Hutchinson can help from a data perspective, that would help you get a better idea on what type of business you want to run, how viable it may be. So yeah, absolutely. You can do a ton of legwork before even applying for a license.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Adam. Lawrence, I think we've had some other questions that were sent in that from the people that pre-registered. Do you want to go through some of those now?
Sure.
Awesome. Do you want me to read them to you, or do you have them right there?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. So let's see. We have a few other ones that people sent in when they were pre-registering, like I said. So how can a CPA benefit a cannabis testing laboratory?
A cannabis testing laboratory. I think that was from Chauncey. I sent him a note the other night. We subscribe to the fact that lab testing companies are not subject to 280E. The only reason they would be subject to 280E is if they also were a licensee holder. And no state allows, there's a conflict of interest of, I'm a big cultivator and I'm also lab testing. I would, disqualify all my competitors' lab testing. So we tell people that are lab testing, you don't fall under 280E. You're able to access, you don't require a specialist like us. We're happy to chat with you, but we always try to make it, if it's not to be a great fit, we would happily pass them along to some of our non-specialist CPA people in Mississippi or wherever they're located.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lawrence. Okay, let's see. This one I think goes to one of the attorneys, but if somebody else has a good answer, they can jump in. What's the best way to set up your business structure? Should it be an S Corp, an LLC, a C Corp? What's the best way?
I mean, I can try to give a legal answer, but I'll let the financial person give the financial answer too.
Our kind of canned response is, if you're a dispensary, tell people to go C Corp. It has nothing to do with the tax advantage. It's strictly risk management. Yeah. You're putting there's a lot more things that can happen at a dispensary that you would want to have if they can attempt to pierce the corporate veil, but that C Corp provides you a little more additional layers of security. For the grow, cultivation, and dispensary, most attorneys tell people to do separate entities for those. You don't have to get rid of all of them if you have to get rid of one. And then we tell people, unless we can go through and do an entire tax return to give you, here's what an S Corp would be, here's what a C Corp would be. A roundabout easy way is just do an LLC, and my team can file it as an S or a C Corp later, and that way it gives you more advantages on the front end. But the C Corp for dispensary, strictly risk management, has nothing to do with a tax advantage situation. And I would love for the attorneys to kind of weigh in on their portion as well.
Great answer, Lawrence. Slates, Whit, do you guys have anything that you'd like to add on to that?
Nothing for me. I think that's exactly the way to think about it. And, obviously an LLC can give you a lot of flexibility, but on the dispensary side, the C Corp makes a lot of sense. And this is why it's just so important that you really have to pull together a team of folks who've done this, but also come at it from different disciplines. I'm amazed constantly at the types of questions that people ask me, and I'm like, I don't do that. I don't know how to grow this plant. And I don't know how to do a number of things here. I don't know how to do the software. And so, having all the talent that's assembled, just even on this webinar, is the type of team that you need when you're building out an operation like this. It's great to be here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that, Whit. Let's see. We have another one that came through. Natasha's asking, and I think we get this one a lot. How much money would one need to become a startup in the industry, and does it vary by state? Who wants to take that one?
Benko, you want to touch that one?
Yeah, I'll take the second part of that, since me and Mel probably work in the most states and GreenGrowth on this call. It highly varies by state. That is for sure. Licensing costs, just to submit the application, are highly varied. And then obviously real estate in Mississippi is going to be different than California. So yes, the good news is through the collective on this call, you could probably get a good idea of the costs associated before you ever even decided to give a no or no go on that. So it's not a number, but yes, it does vary. And it also varies based on the business you want to start. Are you a cultivator? Are you vertically integrated? Are you just a transporter? All of those things and the combined collective mind share of this group could definitely get you closer on what that total cost would look like.
Great. Thank you so much, Adam. Actually, that leads me to our next question. Someone had a question about how do you set cannabis transportation rates?
I saw that question. There are state regs that determine how that process works. Slates was going to answer that part on. We didn't understand the rate portion of it on how to do that one. I don't know if it was for them to, they don't want to be too high or too low, but the actual transportation part of it is written in the state regs.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lawrence. And then lastly here, we had another one come through. Are there specific laws and or governance for the use of seed to sale tracking systems and disposal?
So 2 parts on that one. There are 2 parts on that question. The question regarding the seed to sale tracking system and the disposal. You have to get licensed for the disposal. There are separate licenses for the transportation.
Correct.
And then, all right, I'm going to let Slates jump in here.
I just had to run and get a charger. The computer was about to die.
The laws governance of the seed to sale and the disposal. So yes, there's two licenses.
So yes, a seed to sale tracking system is absolutely required under Mississippi law. Mississippi partnered with Metric. However, you're not required to use Metric as long as you're using another system that's approved.
And then the disposal.
Yeah, just ran up the stairs.
There's a separate disposal license, and then
only licensed entities can properly dispose of medical cannabis in Mississippi, and there's a separate license to get and a separate set of regulations to abide by.
Wonderful. And then here, before we wrap up, Thomas Pace had one last question. He said, could Bradley give us a rough estimate of how many applications, cultivation, processor, and research that their clients have submitted to the state? Oh, man.
More than 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. All righty.
I don't know if they track. Does anybody aggregate the number of licenses? Do they show that on the website of just in total of how many have applied?
I haven't seen how many have applied. I know the Department of Health released on July 5th a list of about 8 or 9 licenses that they've already granted to cultivators, processors, transporters, disposal entities. And of course, the dispensary license is that portal just opened July 5th. And I was told within 2 days they'd received over 80 applications for dispensaries. And so I'm sure that number has grown exponentially since last week.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Well, thank you to all of our viewers and panelists for joining today and spending your lunch hour with us. We hope you really enjoyed this event. If there are any questions that we didn't get to because of time constraints, my deepest apologies. But I encourage you to learn more about the presenters, their companies, and the services they offer. We've put all their contact information in the bottom of the description video, so please make sure you do visit their websites to learn about the benefits from working with each of them. But we have 1 minute or so left here, so I just wanted to see if anyone has any last minute advice or one great takeaway. Like if you didn't learn anything here, you have to take away this piece of knowledge. So does anybody have anything that they'd like to share before we wrap up?
My experience has been when you guys are going through exactly what we went through in 2018. I had an idea that I was going to be learning stuff. I had no idea the vast amount of things that what you don't know. I had no clue that there was an entire universe of stuff that I had to get to learn, between growing, processing, dispensary, to the financial side, to everything. It's going to blow your mind about what you're exposed to. And it's kind of humbling of the fact that you have no idea that there's a whole other world going on that you're about ready to be introduced to.
Yeah, agreed. I think number one, have fun. You're going to do this to start this endeavor because you have a passion for it. You feel like you have something unique, and I'm sure you do. I think what Whit hit earlier, but at the same time, you might not like accounting or might not like technology, but go do some of those fundamental things because it's very important to your business, or getting to the end of the year and go, wow, I need to do accounting. Because then that just drains your business for 30 or 60 days while you're trying to recreate or backtrack the history. And then what Lawrence, said as well, it's an insatiable thirst to go learn, go to the different conferences, be on panels like this. There's a lot of folks willing to share, and learning along the way is very, very important.
Well, wonderful. Well, thank you all so much again for being here. Thank you for those great pieces of advice, Adam and Lawrence and everyone else. And we hope everyone has a wonderful day and enjoyed the roundtable today. We look forward to seeing you all again soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Danielle.
Thanks.